There's a moment you never forget. The moment a woman looks at you for the very first time. It's almost invisible, almost quiet. Yet it decides everything. Before you say a single word, before you smile, before you even realize she noticed you. A woman has already made her first emotional judgment. And the truth is, most older men never even realize what that judgment is. They miss it. They overlook it. They underestimate it. But she doesn't. She feels it instantly, like a shift in the air, like a silent electricity surrounding you. And that first impression becomes the story she starts writing about you in her mind, long before you even introduce yourself. Welcome back to Psychology of Desire. If you're new here, take a second to subscribe. Because the way we break down human attraction isn't surface level, it's deep, emotional, and raw. Let's begin. You've probably heard people say, women notice shoes, your watch, your grooming, your smile, your confidence, and sure, all those things matter. But they're not the first thing she feels, not the first thing her instincts pay attention to. A woman's mind, especially when she's judging a man older than her, operates like a radar searching for something deeper, something more primal. She's not scanning your face, she's scanning your presence. Presence. Something no cologne can mask, no outfit can fake, no nice line can create. Presence is the emotional temperature you bring into a room. It's how your energy lands before your voice does. It's the silent story your eyes and body are telling before your mouth opens. And the reason older men often miss this is because presence can't be touched or seen. It can only be felt. And when you've lived enough life, when you've been through heartbreak, victories, disappointments, and comebacks, that presence becomes heavier, more complex, more layered. Women can feel that, even before they know your name. Think about it. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately felt drawn to someone without knowing why? Maybe they didn't say a word, but something about the way they carried themselves created a pull. That is presence. But here's the twist most older men never realize. Your presence can be either magnetic or repelling, depending on what your life has carved into you. Women are emotional investigators. They don't look for details. They look for patterns. They're not asking, is he handsome? They're wondering, is he safe? Is he stable? Is he grounded? Is he in control of himself? Does he walk like a man who knows who he is? And those answers come from the one first impression women notice instantly, the emotional weight behind your eyes. Your eyes, not your clothes, not your jawline, not your age, your eyes. Because a woman can feel your emotional state before you speak. She can sense if you're carrying insecurity disguised as confidence. She can sense frustration hiding behind humor. She can sense desperation behind politeness. Women notice the contradictions men think they hide, and this is the part that slips right through older men's fingers. They believe experience automatically turns into confidence. But to a woman, your eyes reveal whether that experience made you wiser or wounded. Every older man carries memories, some sharp, some soft, some you'd erase if you could. But if you don't process them, they sit behind your gaze like silent ghosts. Women feel those ghosts. They feel the tension, the unspoken heaviness, the unresolved battles inside you. And here's the dark psychology of it. Women don't decide based on your age. They decide based on your emotional imprint. Young men can look lost. Older men don't get that grace. If your energy feels scattered, defeated, or bitter, she senses it immediately. But if your presence feels grounded, calm, intentional, she feels drawn to you without understanding why. The irony is painful but true. The older you get, the more your presence becomes your strongest weapon or your biggest weakness. Women don't just see you, they read you. And the very first thing they read is whether your presence feels like chaos or comfort. Whether your eyes tell a story of a man who's been shaped by life or broken by it. A woman doesn't fall for the man who talks the loudest. She falls for the man whose silence says something. And that's where your second impression begins, the one older men rarely realize they're giving off. When she looks at you, she's not just seeing how you stand. She's sensing why you stand that way. There's a difference between a man who stands tall because he's confident and a man who stands tall because he's afraid to look small. One is power, the other is performance, and she can tell. Your posture isn't about your spine, it's about your spirit. A grounded man moves differently. He doesn't rush. He doesn't fidget. He doesn't broadcast urgency. His movements feel slow, deliberate, almost cinematic, as if he's at peace with himself. That peace is seductive. That calmness is rare. And women instinctively seek it. Because a calm man is a predictable man, and a predictable man is a safe man. Not safe in a boring way, safe in a way that makes her feel emotionally exposed without being afraid. Women crave that more than any physical trait. But the older a man gets, the more he tends to disconnect from his body. Stress, routine, responsibility, they all make him walk fast, talk fast, breathe shallow, tense his shoulders. He doesn't notice it, but she does. Women notice the difference between a man who moves with intention and a man who's being pulled by invisible pressure. And here's the dark truth. A woman's attraction is not just about how you look. It's about the emotional story your physical presence silently tells. Picture this. You enter a cafe. You don't make a scene. You don't try to be seen. Yet she notices you. The way you pause before choosing a seat. The way your eyes scan the room not for attention, but for understanding. The way you settle into a chair like someone who owns his space without forcing it. That subtle confidence is intoxicating. It makes her wonder who you are. It creates curiosity. A curiosity that grows attraction before you've spoken a single word. But if you walk in hurried, stiff, distracted, she reads that too. And instantly, without words, she creates distance. Because women don't just feel your energy, they mirror it emotionally. If your energy feels frantic, she feels emotionally unsafe. If your energy feels wounded, she feels the urge to protect herself. But when your energy feels steady, measured, intentional, she lets her guard down. And you know what's ironic? Older men should have the strongest presence. They've lived, learned, experienced. But experience doesn't create presence. Awareness does. You can be 45 and still carry the energy of a man who hasn't forgiven his past. Or you can be 45 and radiate the energy of a man who knows exactly who he is. The first impression she truly notices is your presence. The second is how your presence makes her feel. If she feels tense around you, she withdraws. If she feels calm around you, she leans in. If she feels curiosity around you, she remembers you. Not because of your age, not because of your looks, but because your presence becomes an emotional experience for her. And there's one final layer she notices, something darker, deeper, almost primal. It's the energy behind your stillness. Because calmness isn't always peaceful. Sometimes calmness hides danger. Sometimes calmness hides dominance. Sometimes calmness hides hidden confidence that feels like a quiet storm. Women notice that quiet storm instantly. And if you have it, she feels drawn to you in a way she can't explain. There's a moment, so small you could blink and miss it, when a woman decides whether you're a man she should take seriously or a man she can forget. And that moment happens the instant she hears your voice. Not the words, the weight of your voice. Because the third first impression she notices is the emotional tone behind the way you speak. You might think your voice is just sound, but to her, it's a psychological map. A woman listens for something deeper than pitch or volume. She listens for emotional stability. She listens for how much life is in your tone, how much truth, how much patience, how much intention. A younger man's voice can be careless, shaky, eager. But an older man's voice? It's supposed to carry presence, gravity, experience. But many older men speak with the tone of someone who has forgotten his own worth. Their voice is rushed, their tone is apologetic. Their words feel like they're asking for permission, and that makes her feel something instantly, disconnection. But when your voice slows down, When your tone carries that deep masculine calm, something shifts inside her. It's subtle, but powerful. The kind of voice that doesn't try to convince, just states. The kind of voice that doesn't chase, just invites. The kind of voice that feels like it comes from a man who doesn't need approval, because he already approves of himself. That tone is intoxicating. It makes her want to listen. It pulls her into your world. See? A woman doesn't fall for what you say. She falls for how your voice makes her feel. And it's not about being loud or dominant, it's about emotional resonance. A deep, steady tone hits differently. It feels safe, controlled, grounded. A rushed tone feels unstable. A nervous tone feels scattered. A detached tone feels empty. And women notice all of these instantly because their psychological intuition listens faster than their logic. But here's where the dark psychology slips in. Women don't just listen for confidence, they listen for wounds. If there's bitterness in your voice, she hears it. If there's resentment, she feels it. If there's a quiet sadness you try to hide by talking quickly or joking too much, she picks up on it before you even realize you revealed it. Women don't need words to know who you are. Men reveal themselves emotionally through rhythm, not sentences. This is the irony older men face. You speak from experience, but she hears your unresolved emotions before she hears your experience. And there's a reason this matters so much. When you're older, you carry more emotional weight. Past relationships, broken expectations, disappointments, pressure. If you don't process that weight, it leaks into your tone. A woman can feel when a man is tired of life. She can feel when he's given up on connection. She can feel when he's speaking like someone who expects rejection. But she can also feel the opposite. She can feel when a man speaks with quiet certainty, when he sounds like someone who has nothing to prove yet everything to offer, someone who doesn't chase, doesn't rush, doesn't force, but simply is. That tone makes her lean in without understanding why. It's emotional gravity. And older men who possess it are unforgettable, because your voice isn't just a sound. Your voice is your emotional fingerprint. Your voice is your psychological presence made audible. And when your tone is calm, grounded, and intentional, she feels something primal, ancient, instinctive. This man knows himself. There's a silence that follows after you speak, the space between your words. And that silence tells her even more than your voice. Because the fourth first impression a woman notices is not what you say, but how you hold yourself after you've said it. Most older men don't realize how revealing those quiet moments are. They think attraction is built through communication. But women know the truth. Attraction is built through composure. A man's composure is a window into his inner world. And an older man's composure? It's a confession he doesn't know he's making. If you talk and instantly look down, she feels it. If you speak and shift your feet, she registers it. If you finish a sentence and immediately laugh it off, her intuition picks up the insecurity hidden inside the humor. Older men often assume women only care about confidence when a man enters a room. But she cares even more about how you exist in the stillness. Because stillness exposes truth. Stillness strips away performance. Stillness reveals your emotional spine. A woman wants to see if you can hold your own energy without collapsing into awkwardness, rushing to fill the silence, or needing her reaction as validation. And when you can't, even if she doesn't consciously understand why, something inside her pulls back. But when you can hold silence, when you can look at her without flinching, when you can speak and then rest in your presence, it creates a psychological pressure most men never learn how to wield. That pressure is not aggressive, it's magnetic. It makes her heartbeat change rhythm. It creates tension, curiosity, and emotional intrigue. It makes her wonder, why does this man feel so comfortable in himself? See, the reason silence is so powerful is because most men fear it. Silence exposes the truth of whether you're centered or unsettled. And older men, especially those who have been through difficult relationships or emotional failures, often carry subtle tension in their quiet moments. They don't even realize it, but she senses it instantly. When a man has lived long enough, he accumulates emotional scars. But if those scars are still open, his silence feels uncomfortable. If those scars have healed, his silence feels powerful. Women notice the difference. There's a specific kind of stillness that only a grounded older man has. The kind that comes from self-respect, emotional maturity, and life experience that didn't break him. It sharpened him. It's not arrogance. It's not coldness. It's a calm energy that says, I know who I am. I don't need to convince you. I don't need to chase you. I don't need to pretend. That kind of presence affects her at a subconscious level. It triggers her emotional instincts. It makes her feel safe and challenged and curious all at once. But the opposite also holds true. If your silence feels uneasy, if your energy feels restless, if your presence feels fragile, she pulls back without even understanding why. The most powerful first impression older men can give is not confidence. It's stability. A stability that doesn't have to be spoken, explained, or performed. A stability she feels in the quiet spaces between your words. A stability that whispers, this is a man who doesn't break in the storm, because he is the storm. There's one final impression a woman notices, so subtle, so deeply rooted in instinct, that most men never realize it's happening. It's the emotional echo you leave on her after the interaction is over. Not during, not when you speak, not when you stand, but when you walk away, because that last lingering moment tells her everything. A younger man leaves an impression through excitement. An older man leaves an impression through impact. And that impact is shaped by one thing, the emotional residue of your presence. When you leave, does the space feel calmer or heavier? Does she feel relieved or intrigued? Does she feel like she just met a man, or like she just experienced one? Women notice the emotional imprint you leave behind because it reveals your true psychological power. If a woman keeps thinking about you after you're gone, your voice, your gaze, your steadiness, then you created a presence strong enough to live in her mind without asking for permission. Older men often underestimate this. They think attraction ends when the conversation ends. But for women, attraction begins when the man disappears, and his energy doesn't. Your last impression isn't a goodbye. It's the question you plant in her mind. It's the emotional signature that lingers in her chest. It's the quiet thought she can't shake. Why did he affect me like that? And here's the truth most men never understand. Your presence becomes unforgettable when it carries certainty without arrogance, warmth without neediness, and depth without desperation. A grounded older man is rare. A man who knows himself is magnetic. A man who communicates through energy instead of effort is dangerously irresistible. So the one first impression women notice, the thing older men often miss, is the emotional reality of who you are before you ever try to impress her. Because she doesn't fall for your age. She falls for your energy. She falls for the man your presence quietly reveals. She falls for the way your soul makes the room feel when you enter, and the way the silence feels different when you leave. If you can master that, you don't chase attraction, you become it. Thank you for watching Psychology of Desire. If today's breakdown opened something inside you, if it made you see yourself differently, then make sure you subscribe, because we go deeper than anyone else on the psychology of attraction, desire, and emotional power.